So, welcome to the Tabletop Showcase. I'm Patrick, this is Brian, and we are part of Just Got Played Review Channel.
Hello.
What we're doing here today, right now, is we are going to interview various people with brand new board games in the industry. We're going to ask them a few questions, but first thing they're going to do is give us their elevator pitch. Essentially, they're going to tell us who you are in the game, what your goal is, the major mechanic, and why it's different than anyone else's in that same genre. So we're going to start in just a second with Mr. Ken and Shannon. Show the rest of you how this is done. Because Ken's a pro. Ken, you have to turn your microphone on.
I can't even turn on the microphone.
All right, so Lance is the game reviewer from Undead Viking. He is the Undead Viking, and he also is with Tasty Minstrel.
Yes.
Which is a...
Yes.
But you should project.
Well,
You should rest it on your face like this. All right, Ken Shannon,
Yes.
what did you bring to us today?
What did I what?
What game did you bring to show
Oh,
us
yes.
today?
It's called The Witching Hour. And it's a game that is a cooperative game where each individual player is playing a witch of a coven, and that coven is, well, at least one of you's done something wrong since last Halloween is the tag. What makes it different, though, is that while you play cooperatively, everything you do to help yourself hurts the person to your left. So it can appeal to, it changes the feel of the game, because you're not placing your risk on yourself, you're placing your risk on someone else who has to handle that. And so generally as something bad happens to you and you have to deal with it, that gets thrown onto the person to your left, who then has to deal with it, but they have to put more time into it. So eventually it goes around, and little problems that people make start to cause grief for everyone else. And you just have to survive through 6 hours, which would be the equivalent of 6 turns. It's not actual hours, but it takes about an hour, hour and a half to play. And it's got a story. We even have some people interested in doing a young adult novel for it, or somewhere. And the idea is that it's got over the course of the year, you can play multiple scenes, which are equivalent scenarios, and they completely change how the game feels, but not how it plays.
What would you say the major mechanic is to the game?
Well, I'd say it has 3, actually. First is that it has a gateway mechanic, where not only do you put risk on the person in terms of making it more likely that they can die, go corrupt, each card opens sigils on the person's card, and then when demons, bad things come up, based on how many sigils you've opened for them, that's how likely, if the demon needs all the sigils to jump in, if you don't have all your sigils open, it doesn't attack you. So you're not only just deciding how bad you want to hurt them, but how much risk you're going to put on them by playing your more powerful cards. That's the first mechanic. The second mechanic that's, I think, moderately innovative is each card's double-sided, and you play an entire hand of 5 cards. There's white magic and black magic. Black magic uses to help yourself, but it hurts the person to your left by giving them corruption. And with white magic, it goes into a general pool so everyone can talk. So what's neat about it is you can't have an alpha player, because everybody has to make their hand simultaneously and reveal them. But then there's a second part of and then when you battle, everybody has to make decisions together. So you have a nice mix of being able to, if you're a new player, somebody's going to be able to help you. At the same time, they're not playing the game for you. And so a lot of competitive players like that, because they don't like cooperative games where, it's all cooperative. Well, no, I can kind of screw you over, or mess, do something bad, but then eventually it's going to come back to hurt me, or it might make us lose the game. So those 2 things are particularly interesting. And what was the third one? Sigils, demons jumping out, and the double-sided cards. And then you buy cards from a central bank that slowly depletes as the demons attack you. That'd be an interesting mechanic that I haven't seen before.
What do I use for resources to be able to buy the cards?
You place corruption. Depending on the scenario, you gain corruption. So what happens is basically as you play the game, there's a deck of cards, there's a series of cards and a pentagram in front of you, and they progressively become more powerful. If all the decks in the pentagram go away, you're gone. The game ends. Everybody loses. If anyone ends after demons attack, basically, and have 20 or more corruption, you lose the game. So there's 2 mechanics to lose the game, and buying spells puts corruption on yourself. So you can gain corruption for yourself, or in some cases you place it on someone else.
And any player gains corruption, and that's how the game ends?
If a single player gains 20 corruption, we all lose. all 3 to 6 of us. So people have to really think about what they're doing.
Or if all the spells run out in the center.
Or if all the spells run out in the center.
How many players total?
It's got 3 to 6 with a 2-player variant.
2-player variant, very different.
No, you each get an additional card, and then there's a dummy in the middle. And
Ooh, I could do that.
yeah, and the thing is that the dummy gets a card for free from the highest open. Basically, gets 1 cool spell, and then each of you hand him a spell. Him being the dummy, him or her. They the spell, and then you reveal them, and then they see how well they do.
Sounds very cool. Lance, do you have any questions?
You say there's not an alpha player, and if you don't know what that means, it's basically like a lot of co-op games end up being one person just directing everybody else where to go and what to do, so it's really like one person playing solo. My only question is that with co-op games, and you know, the big problem with co-op games usually is that the best course of action is always obvious. Like, you know, it's like, I better, you know, well, this is what we gotta do, because if anything else is going to damn us if we do it. So what do you do to avoid that? I mean, how do you make it so that basically the choices that you have to do on your turn are actually choices and not just like, this is the best, this is slightly worse, this is slightly worse?
Thank you for reminding me of the mechanic that I forgot to mention.
Mechanism.
Mechanism. Thank you. Dyslexia. So,
A mechanic works on cars.
very good. The demons, when you're fighting the bad guys, they can either be destroyed or they can just be basically bound, so they don't do anything for a turn, otherwise they hurt you. So you're getting a hand of 5 cards, you're having to determine how much risk you want to add to the other person. So you're not just having to decide, the courses of action are both in the moment and long term. Do I go ahead and destroy this bad guy in front of me to lessen my issue, just so that I put it on you, and now next turn you're probably going to be in a much worse situation? Or do I go ahead and hold off for a while and take it onto myself, seeing that you might be almost ready to be dead? But either way, earlier in the game might affect later game decisions, so there's a lot of strategic decisions there. Or you play your hand as white magic and take it upon yourself to get a lot of pain, but you're putting a lot of help. The trick about white magic is you can never use it to help yourself, you can only use it to help everyone else. So as you play your hand, you're doing things for both groups, and that's, I think, the mechanism that tends to kill the situation you were talking about.
Then my only other question, I'm not trying to...
No, please do.
Okay.
I want to die right now.
So also, like a lot of times, like a cooperative game is just a cooperative experience, and the puzzle is like there, and everybody's working on the puzzle. And so theoretically, your game, you can just play it by yourself. Then you don't need the other 2 or 6 or 5 players that you got yourself. Is that am I completely incorrect?
You would be incorrect. And let me go ahead and explain why. Because there's the phase where you're actually choosing what your cards are doing is about you and your situation. But then when everybody reveals their hands, we go through and find out where everybody's position is, and then they fight their battles individually as we go around the table. And as we do, we have to decide what the white magic does, because white magic can be used to help other people. When does somebody decide to do it? And that's their individual decision. So you can't play it by yourself, because the concept is that you're throwing risk onto other people, and it builds itself across the table. So if you were just trying to fight yourself, you would have nothing there. So basically what happens is everybody makes individual decisions. That's their own individual puzzles. And then once it's revealed, everybody has to kind of cooperatively think about how do they best resolve the situation that they put themselves in.
Or to follow up on that, or restate in other words, each of the other players is an unknown variable for you. So
Exactly.
So if you're playing 5 hands yourself, you know the variables.
Unless you've bought a card that lets you talk during the phase that everybody's silent, in which case, you know, you might be able to, like I might have bought a card that I can talk to you and say, look, this is what I'm going to do this turn. But then that's the cost of buying that particular card is.
All right, then the last question, and I'll stop grilling you on this, is there a, like, once you win, is there a, like, best winner situation where you sit there and, like, this person's the best at winning, and so you kind of have a winner beyond the win? And secondly, do you have also, like, a situation where, I'm trying to remember, what was it, Red November, like, was a game that was a co-op, that at one point, if one player thought that nobody had a chance to win, they could escape the submarine that was going to explode, and then if everybody else would die, but they technically because they made the right choice. So is there a mechanism where one person that would just like could be the winner even though the game is lost?
Well, that's part of a concept for one of the expansions where actually your Coven of Witches that's breaking apart and some of you are on the same teams. The other thing I forgot to mention is everybody generally has a secret that changes how they play the game that no one can see what's going on, so they change. That's another mechanism that blocks that. And one component of that is where you do that. But in general, no. The game is designed to be fully cooperative, and if you succeed, you succeed. But then there are cards that can be placed into your starter deck, and if you actually play it as a year, you can actually develop yourselves and work together to see if you can get to the harder hardened scenarios. It is a very low win rate game, especially later scenarios.
You say over a year, is that like your version of a legacy?
Yes. No. I would say it's more like it's not true legacy in that sense. The board game, the scenario is going to be the same the next scene, but your deck is going to be different because you've evolved it in some way. I'd say it's more like Magic players going against a multiplayer deck in the middle, if I had to say an example.
I would throw in, and it's not, what if the amount of corruption, because you mentioned if you get to 20, then you lose, but at the end of the game, if everybody succeeds, you could add that element as an alternate rule or something like that. Whoever has the least amount of corruption would be the winner.
You absolutely could. Yeah, you could. One thing about the game is the demons consume your corruption, so a lot of time people will go into a turn with 20, 30, 40 corruption, and based on, and people will allow themselves to have that extra risk and hope that they get big enough demons to pull the corruption down lower. So there's a lot of extra push and pull on that.
That's a cool mechanic.
Thank you.
All right, do you have a copy of this game here?
I do have a copy of the game with me, yes.
Would anyone here later on maybe go find Ken in the game room area if they'd like to play it? I'm sure Ken would love to play it with you.
Sure thing. Let me know.
Thank you very much, Ken.
Thank you. Thanks for the question.
Who's next? Come on up.
Don't be shy.
I know that game.
Sounds like I can't.
Hello. All right. Microphones 101. Hi, guys.
Hello. Who are you?
My name's Ryan. I made a crazy game called Pwnz, a game of strategic mayhem. The object of the game is, it starts as a basic turf war kind of game where one team needs to eliminate the other team, but you do so with a number of random variables that are different every single time you play. So that could be terrain setup, because the board, you have to set it up at the beginning, character placement, abilities, just a lot of different things change every single time you play it and during the game.
What is the win condition for the end of the game?
The win condition is you eliminate just one team. In a 1 versus 1, it's pretty much last man standing. But in a 3 and up player game, you eliminate one team, and the remaining teams count up points. So whoever has the most points wins at that point.
It has a variable board tile placement.
Pretty much. Like what we found is like in a 4-player game, for instance, like second and third place might see that first place is about to eliminate fourth place. Like he's one turn away from pretty much getting knocked out of the game. So second and third place might go ahead and team up against first place and say, hey, we're not ready to end this yet. So then first place finds himself in third place, and the focus keeps changing of the game. So we just changed that win condition a couple months ago. I don't know if you played it that way or not, but
No, I did a review of this a while ago, I think.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was. I apologize.
no, that's fine. But yeah, I mean, obviously in play testing we found a couple of things that worked and a couple of things that didn't, but right now we've got a pretty solid game, I think.
If I guess like my thing was when I played it, if any of you played the old video game Worms, it's an old school game where basically each person had a team of worms that all had a crazy name, and then they had different weapons and different abilities and what have you. This made me feel like that. It was, I don't even know if that was something that you based it off of.
Not really.
It was because basically Worms had like this crazy environment where you shove people into pits and into fire and all these things. And this has that, where you have these whimsical little dudes that, you know, just have these little smiley faces, and they just have weird names, and it's all about bumping each other, and you have all these chain reactions as people slam into each other, and slams into somebody else, that pushes them into a pit, and kills them, and things like that. It was just very, very, I guess frantic would be a word, like controlled chaos.
There you go. That's actually pretty good. I mean, this isn't the kind of game where you just say, "I'm going to punch you for 1 damage," and that'd be it. It's mostly a game where you're like, "I'm going to punch you for 1 damage, and you're going to land into this guy who's going to get knocked into the hole." So it's all about setting up combos and really being very much aware of your surroundings, be it other characters with other abilities, or this fire tile is about to spread to this tile. So there's a lot going on at any single time, and anything can change, like at the drop of a hat.
So it's a random tile setup for the terrain, and there will be pits and fires, as you're saying?
Fire and holes don't start off, but there are cards. There's 72 cards in the deck, and a lot of them, like there's very few doubles, but a lot of them will affect characters. They can heal you, they can defend you, but some of them change the board on a very large scale, and you just never know when that's going to pop up.
The cool thing, I thought, you mentioned it just briefly, but like certain tiles will, like as a weapons and what have you, will start on fire. So there's other grass tiles that are attached to that, those then catch on fire too, and it's slowly. So you have a situation where, like, the fire can even come back and get one of your people if you're not paying attention, and like, it's just, yeah, it's not meant to be a big giant thinky game. It's meant to be like sitting there, and I hate the connotation of beer and pretzels, but I mean, it is definitely just like, if you just want to let your brain relax and just have fun killing your friends. That's kind of.
All right, I'll take it.
And is this on Kickstarter right now?
It is actually. We just started on Wednesday. We're on day 4. We're almost at the 50% mark, actually. So I'm excited. I'm thrilled, really, because this is showing some real promise. And as a game designer, there's like nothing could make me happier than getting this out in the world.
Designer and artist for the game?
Yeah, actually, I did draw everything. I started January of last year, and I haven't stopped.
You work cheap for yourself.
You know, I consider myself a cheap date, so.
He treats himself right.
You bet.
All right, so what's the major mechanic in this? It's card-driven, obviously.
It is card-driven. The main thing that I see that differentiates it is a lot of games, when you have classes or roles, they already come with pre-built-in abilities and such, but a lot of this game really is different, because you've got these newer things like these little ability tokens. Some of them specialize in offense, others in defense, others in healing. You never know what kind of team you're going to start off with, and the combinations just go from there. So I think the mechanic mechanism I'm most proud of is the fact that you will never have the same experience when you play this. You can't go into this game with the same strategy you played last time.
There's always that delicate line of high luck versus replayability. So how do you think you moderate that fairly well?
I think I did. Like I said, I've gone through some extensive play testing, and that originally some people were like, hey, maybe this ability is a little more like overpowered than the rest of them. If I'm stuck with this team, I'm going to be screwed against this team. I'm like, you know what, you're right. So I have balanced that quite a bit, actually. And at this point, I'm really proud to say that this is a very well-balanced game. We played it with a number of different age groups. Even today, like I had a parent come up and say, "This is actually really cool. I'm definitely going to back it." I know that could mean anything from somebody on Kickstarter, but even like this 10-year-old kid came up and said, "Hey, I played it earlier. Can I play this again? Can I play the full version?" We made a demo so you could play it in less than 15 minutes. It's normally like a 45-minute game. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Feel free to bring them back. So we've had a lot of replayability even today. So it was definitely a concern. Which one are you looking at?
Scary mask.
There's some pretty crazy.
Whimsical.
Yeah, there you go. There's some pretty crazy cards in there.
Use your microphone.
It's whimsical.
And you can quote him on that.
You will. All right, So, and you, obviously, do you have a copy of this game here?
Yes, I do, yeah.
And you have a booth? You have a booth in the showroom, right?
Yeah, I've got a booth. It's in the corner, right past the Star Wars guys. God, somebody remind me of their name, because that's going to drive me. The Mandalorians. All right, cool. Right past those guys. They're really cool.
All right, so if any of you would like to come and play the game, I'm sure you'll sit down and play it with them.
Absolutely. My wife and I are ready to go.
All right, thank you so much.
All right, thank you guys.
Who will be next? Any takers? Anyone at all? Does anyone want anyone at all? Anyone else? Does anyone other than him? Anyone else? Anybody but him? No one else? Nobody? No, anyone else? Any person at all?
Hi, I'm Hex. Oh, wow, that worked.
This isn't that kind of meeting.
I brought the glass, though. So, hi, I'm John Hex Carter. I'm one half of a tabletop company called Screech Dragon Studios, and we're working on a product called Loaded Dice. It's essentially what happens when you mix a pint glass with a 20-sided dice. You would fill this up with your beverage of choice, take a big swig, and wherever the level of the beverage is when you're done drinking, that effectively is your roll. We're on Kickstarter right now. We've been going for 11 days. We just hit $8,692 out of our $10,000 goal.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We have about 19 days left, so we're confident we're going to fund. And we have a lot of really fun stretch goal ideas. And something else, if you haven't seen the Kickstarter yet, it's not just a pint glass, because what kind of gamer only has a D20? So we have a whole set of dice glass, or glice, if you will, going from the D20 down to a D4 as a shot glass.
And those glasses are etched in vinyl? Is that vinyl?
Yes, I think so. But I know it's solid on. I'm pretty sure it's vinyl. It's dishwasher safe and microwave safe in case you really want a warm drink.
And if I wanted to see you chug beer out of that later?
Well, if you back the Kickstarter, well, even if you just go to the Kickstarter, there is a video of me already chugging a beer as one of our updates when we hit 100 backers. I had this kind of challenge. We were at 96 backers, and I said if we hit 100, I would roll a 20, and I did.
And you mentioned beverages of choice.
Yes.
So obviously you could use alcohol, or you could use like disgusting vile drinks.
You could. I heard that there's this one amazing Twitch show, Twitch Game Night, that where they just did that because I gave them some glasses for them to help promote, and I'd appreciate that. Yeah. My beverage of choice is actually 1/4 whiskey and then 3/4 sweet tea. It's dangerously non-alcoholic tasting.
Well, if you chug 20 out, a quarter of that.
I wouldn't chug. I wouldn't chug that. That'd be bad.
Sounds like a challenge.
So how many backers is that for them?
Oh God! If we hit 1,000, you hear it here first, folks. If we hit 1,000 backers,
Do that at the hospital.
yeah,
So they're ready.
ready. I'm ready. I'm at the hospital. I'm ready to chug.
John Carter, thank you very, very much.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you for having me, gentlemen. Any other questions?
Does anybody have questions?
It's a glass.
Or a
Drink.
set of glasses?
A set of glasses. So I
Glass.
understand. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your time.
No, thank you, buddy.
Who will be next? Anyone? Some battle monkeys, maybe? Perhaps someone bringing some monkeys to the table?
Monkeys are back.
Please introduce yourself.
My name's Hoyt Dingus. I am one of 4 people in the company Endless Spiral LLC, and this is our first release. It's called Battle Monkeys.
Tell me a little bit about battle monkeys.
Well, Battle Monkeys is a 2 to 4 player game. It takes about 15 minutes to 45 minutes to generally get through a round. It's basically an arms race for domination. You want to basically screw over all of your friends as often as possible in order to be the last monkey standing. We basically made it because we wanted something fun to play that had the strategy of Magic and the randomness of Uno.
So who are you in Battle Monkeys?
I'm sorry?
Who am I when I sit down and I play Battle Monkeys?
You are one of 5 generals. You are either a wizard, which
Am I a
all the
monkey?
generals have different abilities, of course.
Am I a wizard monkey?
The wizard, you can discard a card from your hand to draw a new card if you do not like a card that's in your hand. There's also a warrior, which allows you to discard a card to play an additional monkey, because you can only play 1 monkey per turn. Because we don't have a resource system either. There's
a communal deck in the center?
Yes, everyone plays out of the exact same deck. That was another thing that was paramount with us to have, because we wanted everyone to be able to have the same card pool, especially with the randomness that happens with the game. We felt that it was more fair to have everybody draw from the same deck. And honestly, if it was for 5 different decks, it just wouldn't work the same way.
Primarily take that, would you say? Take that mechanism?
Oh, yeah,
Sorry,
absolutely.
man. And how many cards in the deck?
I think there's 67, I believe.
And your playtime you said was?
15 to 45 minutes. It can go long. It can go longer than 45 with experienced players, because once everybody learns how the combos go in the deck, like, it can last up to an hour and a half if you're playing with experienced players. But typically beginners, it's about 15 to 45.
Do you find any way to moderate that, like a very experienced player run on turn?
Repeat the question. I'm sorry.
There are a few card games out there where a single player can do a mega turn. They can just keep chaining events. Does this card game have elements like that where you can chain event to event to event?
It does, only because of 2 cards, and the 2 cards are Third Eye, which allows you to basically, it's a scry mechanic that allows you to look at the top 3 cards of the library and put them back in any order. And if you do this before your draw, and there happens to be a Loot 2 card in there, and you draw the Loot 2 card, and essentially there could be more underneath that, and then you play the Loot 2 card, and then you Loot 2, and there could be another Loot 2, and then if they're stacked like that, it makes it so that you just infinitely draw, not infinitely, because there's only a limited number of Loot 2s in the deck, but essentially you can just keep going like that.
But that wouldn't be common, right? I mean, it wouldn't happen a lot to get that card over and over again.
It doesn't happen a lot. It's very rare that happens.
Only
But
those 2 cards.
honestly, I've played so many games of this that it's happened to me more often than not. And I don't know if that's just blind luck with me, or just the deck being stacked a certain way or not being shuffled enough.
But there's only those 2 cards that can cause that.
Yeah. Those are really the only 2 cards that cause the back-to-back.
Did you do Kickstarter for this, or did you publish it on your own?
We published it on our own. We did self-publishing. We initially wanted to do a Kickstarter for it, but we just felt that we should just go ahead and publish it and see what happens, because we essentially ran out of time with trying to plan our Kickstarter out, and we were just like, we just want it out there, and we want people playing it, and we just wanted to get it in the hands, because we were having a lot of fun playing it at home. And we look at it more of as a game that's just, it's not meant to be taken too seriously. It's meant to be had fun with at a bar, drinking with friends, and you're just trying to screw your friends over.
You could use Hex Carter's glass while you're playing this game.
Oh, absolutely, you could. It would be great for keeping track of life.
All right, well, gentlemen, do you have any questions?
If I heard right, are you guys working on an expansion for this?
We are toying with expansion ideas. One of the things, I'm going to be upfront with you, one of the things that the game honestly lacks, in my personal opinion, and a lot of our opinions, is hand attacking of other players. Like, that's a mechanic that we really want to see in it now, that after looking at it through hindsight being 2020, we realize that needs to be in there, and that's something that we're trying to figure out a way to either get that in there with an expansion, or maybe on the next run of the game include cards or release the cards out something in some way.
By hand mechanic, you mean you limiting my options by
Yes,
eliminating
by
cards from
me
my hand?
saying discard 2 of your cards or discard 1 of your cards.
Gotcha.
And you can currently get this game on your website?
Currently, it's on Amazon. We have them here. We're right in front of Billy West, out in the main vendor hall.
And if one of you would like to play this game, I'm
Absolutely,
sure...
we have demo space, and we are more than glad to have you come by and try and destroy us.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you guys. Thank you for having us.
Anyone else like, I don't know, Brian Klein? Brian Klein, please come to the office. Your parents are here. You have a dentist appointment. Don't block yourself with that block, Lance. He's much larger and he just left us. Hey, who are you, dude?
Hello there, I'm Brian Klein. I run an independent board game development studio called Mystic Tiger Games, and I'm currently working on getting my first game, Mana Forge, out there. It's up on Kickstarter right now.
Who am I in Mana Forge?
Who are you?
When I'm a player, what am I doing?
Oh, I see. When you
Was it philosophical?
Who are you? That's the question we all face, right? So when you play Mana Forge, you are a crafter that specializes in the creation of magical equipment for fantasy adventurers. Whenever an adventurer doing some epic quests needs some sort of gear to accomplish whatever it is they're trying to do that day, slay some evil dragon or something like that, whenever they need stuff, they come to your magic shop.
And what's the victory condition? How do I win?
You win, in Mana Forge, you win by accumulating prestige. As a crafter, you're crafting a whole bunch of magic items that you want adventurers to come in and purchase. The more impressive the items in your shop, the more prestige you generate for your shop. And at the end, right at the end of the game, whoever magic shop has the most prestige is the winner.
A victory point system.
So how do we get these victory points? So is there a marketplace of cards?
Mm-hmm. So the way the game works, it's a chain of 3 steps. At the beginning of each round, each wizard rolls a handful of dice. The dice all have mana symbols on them, represented by the 4 elements, earth, fire, wind, water. After they use those dice, get the mana off of them, and then each turn there are magic item cards placed on the center board. Each magic item card has a cost, also expressed in mana. So this card here that represents a suit of impervious armor or something like that might cost 3 earth mana and 3 fire mana. So they say, okay, I'm using these dice, they get the mana, and they pick up the card. Some cards, especially those towards the beginning of the game, will provide more resources, more mana each turn, more dice to roll, whereas cards later on in the game will start providing prestige, either continuous prestige points over time for each turn, or one-shot infusions of prestige, especially for like really powerful artifacts. But those cards appear later in the game.
How many dice are in this game?
Mana Forge has a total of 40 dice. Yes, it's a large pool of dice. Typically, a player starts the game with 6 dice, although the number can vary, and depending on what cards they get during the course of the game, they can have a total of up to 10.
How many cards?
The game has 92 cards in it total, 72 item cards, and 20 what are called talent cards, which represent a player's special powers.
How many unique art?
All the cards are unique.
Wow.
Yes, a lot of artwork.
That's expensive.
Beautiful artwork.
I'd like to think so. I have no art skill personally, so I've had to hire a couple of artists and a graphic designer to do all of the work on this, and
That's the way to do
I
it.
think it came out good.
That's definitely the way to do it. How long does it take to play Mana Forge?
Mana Forge takes about an hour, maybe to an hour and a half, hour and a half, depending on how many players there are and their general level of skill. I've had a group of 4 hardcore Magic the Gathering type players who, some of the mechanics in this game mimic that a little bit, although it is a completely different game. But those that are familiar with that tend to catch on to this quickly. So 4 hardcore Magic players came in and caught on immediately, and they got through a full game in about 45 minutes. On the other end of the spectrum, I got this 1 2-player game where you could tell it took a little bit longer for them to kind of understand the rules and to catch on and make all the decisions, and it took well over an hour, maybe like hour 15 minutes, something like that. So it can vary.
Any questions, Brian? Lance? Any? Oh, never mind.
I think you scared him off.
We do that.
And this is on Kickstarter right
Yes,
now?
Kickstarter right now. It's actually close to finish. There's 3 days left to go on the Kickstarter.
Sounds like it's packed full of great stuff. You've got a lot of our cards and you've got a lot of different dice, so it's probably an incredible value. It seems like it's full of opportunities. So if anyone out there would like to go and play Mana Forge with Brian, you'll be in the game room?
Yeah, I'll be in the game room today, and also Mana Forge is playable online right now. If you go onto the Kickstarter campaign page, there's a link to another website called Tabletopia. If you jump on there, there's a digital version of the game. You can jump in, just play with the components all you want, and if you share your particular link around, you can have your friends join as well. It's just wherever they happen to be at the time.
Very smart. But if anybody here wants to come play with Brian, check out Mana Forge. Thank you very much, Brian Klein.
Thank you.
Is anyone else interested in coming up? Anyone else? Corey Goff, perhaps? Corey Goff, your parents are here. I want to address the situation where you stole the car here.
Can they see this?
Yes, but don't block yourself. Block Lance. That's not Lance, that's Brian.
Hello,
Who are you, dude?
I'm great.
Who are you?
I am Corey Goff of Times Infinity LLC.
Is that Mike?
Louder.
Who are
Mike
you?
check.
dude?
I'm Corey Goff of Times Infinity LLC.
And what do you got?
This is a card game called 7 and 7. It's based on the 7 sins and 7 virtues. It's a 2 to 5 player take that kind of game, set collection. The object of the game is to collect either all 7 sins or all 7 virtues in your play area.
Who am I in this game?
You are yourself. I like to imagine that it's like your inner self battling, like, you know, what you would do between the right situation and a bad situation. I mean, making the right decision and the wrong decision. And, you know, eventually you're just consumed by either sin or virtues. You are on being a good person or a bad person.
So you mentioned you have to collect, be the first to collect all 7 sins or virtues. So you start with a hand of cards, and these cards are double-sided?
That's right. Most of the cards in the game are dual-sided, so whichever side you play face up in your perspective is the card type and ability you get.
And it'll either be a sin or a...
Sin or virtue. That's right.
And then some of the cards you play will have abilities that will alter other players or make them flip their card around from sin, or they lose a card or something like that.
That's correct. There's a game mechanic called converting, which is basically, like he said, flipping someone's card to the opposite faction to disrupt them, or flipping your own to help yourself win.
So I have this hand that I get dealt randomly, and then do I lay them all down at once, or is there a pool?
No, there's a deck in the middle, and everyone's dealt 5 cards. During your turn, you can do one of 2 things. You can play a card, use its ability, and then draw a card when you're done, or don't play anything and draw 3 cards.
Cool. Brian, any questions?
You were already successfully funded on Kickstarter.
That's right.
And so now you can still acquire copies of your game from your website, or?
That's in progress, yes, and it's currently going through manufacturing. So, yep, we'll be ready to go really soon.
And you have copies here, so if anybody wants to play with Corey Goff 7 and 7. I'm fine, and you'll be in the tabletop area.
That's right.
Corey, thank you very much for sharing 7 and 7.
Thank you.
Good looking and smart. What a package. All right, so is there anyone else? Looks like that's it, right? Anyone else have any games that they'd like to introduce to the world? No? All right, well, I'm Patrick, this is Brian, and that's Lance. And we'd like to thank you very much for watching Just Got Played.